This is going to be the ultimate life update, so I hope you are ready for this. Welcome to the What's Eating You podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, and I'm a psychologist, published author, and public speaker, here to educate and validate. Enjoy the show. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Steph Giorgio, and I am a clinical psychologist, and I have gone MIA, but I have a good reason, and I'm going to tell you everything. So strap in and get ready for today's podcast episode. Where do I start? I first want to start with an apology. I am so sorry that I have gone a little bit MIA, which means missing in action for my more mature friends here on the podcast. I haven't recorded a podcast episode in maybe a good month. I'm not too sure. When's the last one I recorded? I did upload the one with Adele not too long ago, which was amazing. If you haven't heard that episode, please go back and check it out. But the last episode was the 13th of May, and today is the 18th of June, which is 1 month. And I said to myself, I'm never going to be one of those people who records inconsistently. Ha ha ha, life got in the way. But I also want to say that the minute I noticed myself saying, I've been so slack on the podcast, I immediately pulled myself up on it and said, no, I have chosen not to prioritize it. And that is the first lesson of today's podcast is if you fall off the bandwagon of something, or if you haven't been consistent at something that's important to you, reframe the way you think about it, because we often beat ourselves up, or we often call ourselves lazy or call ourselves slack, which pulls us even further away from the goal. And my goal was just to jump back on, and I had thoughts on so many occasions. I was away in the country for a few days, and I was like, Steph, just jump on and record an episode. But I want to relax. I'd want to be fully present with my partner. Steph, jump on, do this, do that. So I've just decided to jump on now and explain what's going on, and also give you some useful tidbits. So in this episode, it will be a life update. It'll be some useful tips when you fall off the bandwagon. And then also maybe I'll throw in some life lessons in there with what's been happening over the last couple of months. So yes, the first thing is, if you have fallen off the bandwagon, or you're not completing something you know you want to be completing, whether that's a uni assignment, whether it's a podcast, just cut yourself some slack. We live in a very busy day and age, whether you're a mum, whether you're a student, whether you're a partner, whether you're a sister, you're busy. Life is busy. And life is hard enough, so you don't need to be hard on yourself. I would always minimize how I felt because I wasn't a mum. I didn't have kids. I had the ultimate setup for success. Work your own hours, do your own thing. You don't have children to worry about. So I would be super hard on myself if I ever felt tired or if I ever felt overwhelmed. I'm like, no, you're not allowed to feel that. You shouldn't feel that because there's people doing it much worse. But I have a much different approach now. So with the podcast, I just said, Steph, it's not a priority right now, and that's okay. It's okay. And it's okay for different things in your life to take priority depending on what season you were in. For me, the podcast was just that added extra. It was that sugar on top thing I wanted to do. I would see how it goes. And surprisingly, you love it. People actually say, I listened to your podcast. I listened to this episode. I found you on a podcast. Who finds people on a podcast? Well, I do. So I don't know why I thought other people wouldn't find me on there. So thank you. If you've been listening, I want to say a massive thank you, because you're the reason I jump back on. You're the reason I do this. And I am sorry I haven't been fully present. But I'm always present on Instagram. I'm always there live every single day on my stories. I will always show up to Instagram, my Instagram fam, the OG, where it all began. I'll be there. And I'm also on TikTok, but TikTok's more of a professional capacity and educational capacity. So now that that's out of the way, my apology, and I'm here, it is time to talk about what's been going on. I went to Thailand for just under a month, and I had 3 very different experiences. So let me take you through them. The first week in Thailand, I went with a friend who I hadn't seen in a couple of years. So we used to actually be in business together, and then I sold my franchise. And this is way back when. It's all in my book, Food Jail, Breaking the Bars of Binge Eating, if you want to grab a copy, but please don't grab too many because I don't have many left. Side note, I'm thinking about changing the cover. If you think I should, let me know. And we stayed in this amazing, beautiful villa. Now, my whole perspective on Thailand changed. I have been a few times on different occasions, but I never stayed in this area. So the area I stayed in, it's called Chern Tally or Laguna or Bingtao. A lot of people know those names. And it seems like it's really up and coming. It seems as though it's almost kind of the Canggu of Bali 5-10 years ago. But I felt so comfortable and safe. I drove a car around. I felt like such an independent woman. Drove a car around, found the cute cafes, saw all the things. I didn't really travel much. I'm not much of an explorer unless it's sort of pre-organized or booked in. But the purpose of this trip, which is the purpose of all of my trips, is to really live the hybrid working, traveling life. Because I love holidays, don't get me wrong, but I just can't imagine not doing what I'm doing. I can't imagine not posting on social media. I can't imagine not making content. I can't imagine not talking. Like what would I do? What would I do? I get sun every day. I have a lot of amazing things. So I love this idea of a hybrid life, and I do take time off. Don't get me wrong. I don't see clients while I'm away and do the one-on-one clinical type of work. But I do have other appointments and Zooms and Food Freedom, which I love. Shout out to my Food Freedom crew. So the first part was with my friend, and it was a hybrid sort of work, relaxing, brainstorming, and just figuring out what I really wanted over the last year. I really love to just grab a good notebook, sit down and be like, Stephanie, let's do a bit of a life audit. And if you're listening to this and you got a pen and paper, grab it, because you're going to want to do this too. Every 6 months or 12 months, probably every 6 months, I'll do a bit of a life audit, and I pull someone along to do this with. So I'll either pull my partner along, I'll probably make him do weekly audits, but I'll grab a friend, I'll grab someone, I'm like, we're going to do a life audit. And I sit down, I say, Steph, what do you not like about your life right now? What is just not working for you? And do you know what? I'm actually going to find when I did this and what I wrote, because this was back in 2021 and I had a little bit of not a breakdown, but I was burnt out. And this was before we knew what burnt out really meant. Do you remember when we all discovered burnout after COVID and we're like, oh, okay, so that burnout we were feeling was burnout. So on the 21st of June, 2021, holy moly, this was literally 3 years ago in 3 days' time. It'll be 3 years ago. And I wrote 6-month plan, June 21st, 2021. And this is on the notes of my phone. So I store everything on the notes of my phone because it is the most best underrated app. I would pay for this, but please don't tell Apple. So I wrote, what I don't want, what will stop. What I don't want and what will stop in exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. And I wrote, stop working so much, late nights, and for anything that isn't in alignment. So let me take you back to this time. In 2021, I was working a lot of jobs. So basically, I was working as a clinical manager for a massive psychology company. I was also the EAP manager of Australia. So both of these roles were managers of Australia. So I was managing over 120 psychologists Australia-wide. I was managing critical incidents. So basically, I had a phone that was on 24 hours that would get calls at all hours of the day. Hey, there's been a trauma out in Townsville and we need a psychologist out there at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I would have to call around, find people, secure this job. It was hectic. It was like awesome. It was really fun. And I used to actually be the psychologist on the other end doing these jobs. I used to get flown to Hobart. I used to just do the most wildest things. If I used to go to like biscuit factories where if the trauma happened or if people were getting made redundant, and it was honestly a wild time in my life, but it was hectic. It was hectic. And at this time, this was 1 year after the first lockdowns, the psychology industry just boomed. A lot of organizations, Department of Education, they were really obviously concerned about staff and they were booking these meetings. And I was running, during COVID, I was honestly running about 9 Zooms a day, and many of them were group Zooms. I was doing 41 hours of Zoom a week. Can you imagine how comatose I was at the end of the week? And I loved it and I'm so grateful I had work during this time. But I actually think that was a double-ended sword because I'm like, you have work. You should be grateful. You should work 24/7. You can help people. They need a psychologist during this time, you know? I got down to this list. It was just the day I was freaking burnt out. And I'm like, right, over the next 6 months, something needs to change because I don't want this. I don't want to be this busy. I don't want to be this tired. I want to actually feel good. So I wrote, stop working so much, late nights, and for anything that isn't in alignment. And then I wrote, working after 6 p.m., which I did stop for a really long time. I did stop working after 6 because I just don't like working late at night. But now I've been taking 7 p.m. calls, just here and there, not many, just food freedom calls. And I really love it. So that's definitely stopped. I don't work late. I have dinner at 5 o'clock. I'm in bed at 8, so that's good. Leave holidays to the last minute. I don't know why I wrote that, but it's funny. I think I'm a bit more organized with that because obviously I know with the retreats that I'm participating in, I know ahead of time when they're going to be. But yeah, I think with holidays, especially with family and friends, you can't leave it to the last minute. And I just wrote, no more of these types of jobs. No more of this. No more saying yes to this. And I just was so specific with how much money I was going to say yes to, the types of jobs I was going to do, what wasn't in alignment. And so often people with goals, they'll write down what they do want and what they want to manifest and what they want to bring into their life. But they don't stop to think about what they don't want. What do you want to stop? Do you want to stop, I don't know, always doing the cleaning? Do you want to stop always having to do stuff for everyone else? Do you want to stop playing basketball? What is it that is not bringing you energy and joy anymore? Do you want to overcome an eating disorder? Are you sick of being depressed? Are you sick of being anxious or having anxiety? And then I wrote, what I do want and will do, exclamation. And this is all in capitals. So I think I was really passionate on this day. And I was just like, no, enough is enough. And I wrote, scare myself with an emptier calendar in July. So one thing I noticed with myself was I was a busy procrastinator. Now, I believe there's 7 different types of procrastination styles, and I'll do a podcast episode on this. But a busy procrastinator is someone who procrastinates by keeping busy. So I would fill my calendar with stuff, with clients, with appointments, with quote unquote paying jobs because I was scared. I was scared to do my own thing. I was scared to go out on social media. I was scared to have an empty calendar. Even today, on the day I record this, I've only really got 3 Zoom meetings. And you know what? I love it. I love it because it gives me time to do other stuff in the day. But in the past, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I have no appointments, what's going to happen? But what I realized is I need that empty time. I need that empty time to plan, to create, to open up that other side of myself that I'm wanting so badly to really grow and develop. So it was scare myself with an empty calendar in July. It was watch uni lectures on a weekend and be organized. So let me add, on top of all of this, I was studying full-time. This is when I started my clinical master's degree. It was the end of 2020. So yeah, it was really stressful. We were the guinea pig cohort. So with the course I did, they'd never done it before. It was a bridging type of course, but you had to be in a psych for at least 2 years, and it was a clinical master's. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And then I wrote, do more social media as long as it's in alignment. And I wrote, new podcast, Winky Tongue Face Out. I'm not sure what that was about. So at the time, I did have a podcast with my girlfriend, Lara, and it was called Raw and Unhinged. But it was we just did it last minute. We struggled to stick to it because she got really busy. I got really busy. But it was a fun project we were doing together. But I wrote a new podcast, Winky Smiley Face, which is really strange because this podcast, What's Eating You, I didn't actually start it till, I think it was the start of 2023 when I moved to the Gold Coast. And isn't that interesting? I put it down in my 2021, but it didn't happen until 2 years later. So this is a reminder that if you've written something a few years ago, go find those goals. Go find what you wrote and see if it actually came to fruition. And then I wrote new secret project to come to fruition. I don't know what that secret project was, but anyways, we did it. And then I also planned to write a second book, which I'm also still thinking about. But I don't know. I don't know the reason. I think I'd write about it because I am interested in attachment, and it was going to be called The Attachment Trap. And I was going to talk about my relationships and experience dating someone with an avoidant attachment and just go through really finding true love and making a long-lasting relationship. But I just don't know if it's in my niche. I know psychology is my niche, but mine is relationship with food, and that's what I absolutely love. So it would just be more writing it for fun and just as a side project, because obviously the book writing business, it's not a money-making business. And not that I do it for money. I've always just wanted to be a published author. But yeah, there's a lot of outlays because I self-publish. I do everything on my own. I don't have a publisher. So when I publish a book, like there's at least an outlay of $10,000. And I'm so grateful for anyone who does buy my book. But it's more just a passion project. It's more, yeah, I wrote a book, go me. But I've always just visualized 3 books in my life. Not sure what they are yet. But anyways, I wrote that down. It is something I've started writing. It's there. Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do it. Wow, look what I wrote. Move interstate for a period of time, i.e. in the winter. Safe to say I moved to Queensland. Whoop, whoop, go me. And I did spend 2 months in Bali last year, month in Thailand. So it feels really good to write this. It feels really good to read back on this. And this is why it's so important to do a life audit and to see where you are at. And I think I just had written down, look after my gut health, adrenal health. And then I went and saw a clinical naturopath and I saw a kinesiologist, and that changed massively. I learned so much. And do you know what? It wasn't what you'd expect. My bloating, you know what I changed? Honestly, I stopped doing so much. I stopped doing all these high intensity, exhausting workouts. Oh, and my tiredness magically stopped. I started to eat more. I actually was fueling my body with lots of different things, with supplementation, with more rest and digest, more breath work, more meditation. And it was crazy because in the past, I would never have done that. No, I'm never giving up my high intensity exercise. But do you know what's funny? Overstressing your body, running, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love that kind of stuff. But when you're doing it too much, you're actually in a disservice to your body, and it does make you bloated, and it does make your adrenals really tired. But anyway, that's another day for another time. Okay, I've got 8 minutes left. Then after my time with my friend and I did a life audit, and your life audit will always change. This is why I say do it every 6 months, because it's going to change dramatically. And this is what I was saying to my food freedom group, because one of the girls was saying she was having a a career crisis. And I said, do you know what? It's actually really normal and okay, because throughout your life, your values will change and what you want will change. Back in 2018, I took on a salary job that was behind a computer that I had to drive 2 hours a day to do, that I had to work in an office. Totally not me, but it did meet my need because I wanted to buy a house, and banks love subcontractors, not. So I had to get a salary job. I chose to make the goal of getting a house easier, but I had to eat dirt. And you know what? There's going to be seasons of your life where you eat dirt, but it's a season of sacrifice for the greater good. And then I got a house. So yay, my little unit, so cute in Melbourne. Thank you for my tenant who's awesome. Anyways, then the second part of Thailand was with the Women's Fitness Academy. So I educated their retreat. Freaking bomb, amazing. I love those girls. I love the business. I love the team. I love all the women who came on the retreat. And it was the first one we did in Thailand. So it was really intimate. It was a small group. So they teach you to become a personal trainer. They have nutrition courses, and something really exciting is coming. I don't know if I should say it, but I'm just going to say it, because if I say it, then I'm going to manifest it into existence. I'm actually going to bring out an accredited course for personal trainers and maybe other health practitioners such as nutritionists to become eating disorder informed. So if you're a personal trainer, if you're a nutritionist and you have this accreditation, it means that you have the ability to work from an eating disorder informed place, because a lot of your clients are going to have a history of eating disorders. That's really exciting. And the last part of the retreat was I went to a retreat. Well, I returned to Phuket Cleanse. So Phuket Cleanse is a retreat that I essentially did in 2019, and I love it. I've done a few retreats, and I've found that retreats are really either too hectic and full on, like it's all about fitness, it's all about grind, wake up at 6 a.m, oh my God, eat your macros. Like they're either very fitness or active based. And I did that in 2016. I did a gym type of retreat and yeah, it was good. It was great. I felt really healthy. I felt really lean. I came back. I put on about 6 kilos because obviously you can't maintain that type of exercise, which is fine. And then I find retreats are very rigid. You have to do this, you have to do the exercise, and it's really exhausting. By the end of the retreat, you need a retreat because you're burnt out. But what I loved about this particular retreat and what I'm bringing to my own retreats, that's right, I'm running my own retreat in October. Woohoo! It's called Mind Food You. I'm keeping it on the down low because I want it to be really special. But if you are interested, get in touch with me. You can email us at retreats@mindfoodsteph.com. I'll put the link in the show notes. Hopefully that email is up and running. If it's not, don't worry. Just get in touch with me. Progress over perfection. And yeah, Phuket is just amazing. If you haven't been to Thailand, you would absolutely love it. It gives Bali energy, but it's a little bit more quiet. It's not as busy with all the scooters. It's not as much pollution. The roads are actually good. I drove a car. So I'm running my own retreat and I'm collaborating with Phuket Cleanse because I love them. I love their values. I love what they're about. They're not all about hectic weight loss BS. It's the perfect mix of westernized education. So they run gut health workshops, hormone workshops with the woo-woo stuff, the meditation, the trauma release therapy, the breath work. And I went and did all the workshops. I tried everything. So when my retreat comes in October, I know exactly what we're offering and I'm so excited to do this with my guests. I'm not just going to be there educating. I'm actually going to be in the ice bath with you, holding each other accountable and being on this journey. And we're going to organize a girls' night out. It's going to be really incredible. So if you've ever wanted to spend time with me in person, if you've ever wanted to go to Thailand, if you are tired and burnt out, if you are wanting sun, if you are wanting nourishment, if you are wanting rejuvenation and transformation, book a call in the show notes below. It's called the Retreat Exploration Call. I've only got limited numbers available, but that's why I went to Thailand, to do secret research and to plan my own retreat. So now the cat is out of the bag. Here we are. And I'm really proud of myself for organizing this. To be honest, I don't have everything perfectly organized. I'm figuring this out as I go. So this is your reminder that you don't have to have everything figured out. You just need to have a vision and make a decision, and you figure it out along the way. So in summary, that's what I've been doing over the past month. I'm going to jump back on the podcast. Hopefully I'll give you at least 2 episodes a week. But my focus this month is retreat. That's what I'm living. That's what I'm breathing. And since having one focus a month, honestly, my productivity has changed. I used to set so many goals. This month I'm going to do this, and this. And guess what? I do everything half as well. Whereas if I go intently into one thing, the results are amazing. This podcast is still going to be here. I still invite you to submit your questions through Psychology Sunday on my Instagram. I'll be answering some of those during the week. But this episode was just to give you a reminder that whatever it is you want to do, you can achieve it. As long as you have a system in place, you've got a really strong mindset that allows you to get rid of unhelpful thoughts, and you just back yourself all the way. Life's not about being perfect. It's about working on progress and having fun along the way. And if you've listened to the end of this, tag me on Instagram and say, I made it. I made it to the end. Hashtag I made it. So I know that you listened to the end, and I will give you a shout out. A massive thank you. I love you guys so much. I'm so grateful for this. I love social media. I love podcasting. It's my favorite thing to do. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I am truly grateful for you being here. If you got something out of today's show, please take a moment to leave a rating or review. To access more resources or support, check out the show notes below. See you next time.